The strategic conversation is a deliberate misdirection. The media focuses on kinetic exchanges, Russia's updated tactics with mass missile strikes, and the U.S. Navy's reactive search for better interceptor missiles. This is a symmetric threat model, an arms race of cost and capability. It is also a trap. The fixation on high-cost interceptors versus low-cost drones is precisely the economic attrition our adversaries are engineering. The actual primary vector is not kinetic. It is silent. While you are watching the skies, the real war is being waged in the deep ocean and the vacuum of space. Analysts at RUSI confirm that the global economic and military nervous system is not in the air. It runs through a handful of undersea fiber optic cables. Over 95% of all global financial data travels through these vulnerable, often unprotected corridors. This is not theoretical. CSIS reports detail the dual-front nature of this silent attack. The second front is orbital, not Star Wars, but strategic cataracts. The objective is not destroying satellites, but blinding them with non-kinetic assets, dazzling, jamming, and cyber intrusion. You do not need to destroy the eye. You only need to sever the optic nerve. UK authorities have already issued warnings of pro-Russia groups probing critical infrastructure, a clear indicator of battlefield preparation. This creates the blind Leviathan. The West's military apparatus is a colossus of unparalleled symmetric power, but without data from undersea cables and guidance from satellites, it is a paralyzed giant. A carrier strike group becomes a floating liability. A fifth-generation fighter becomes a museum piece. The strategy is to induce systemic paralysis by removing the system's senses, rendering its expensive muscle mass inert. They are not trying to kill the giant. They are making it blind itself. The accepted narrative is that this is a war of expansion. This is incorrect. The motive is a solvency crisis. According to analysis from authorities like CSIS, the conventional war effort is a domestic liability for Moscow, an unpopular and economically unsustainable venture. When your primary assets, your tanks and planes, become a net drain on a sanctioned economy, you don't surrender. You pivot. This is a strategic pivot away from symmetric warfare, where cost is a direct function of capability, towards asymmetric attrition. The goal is to invert the cost curve. They are weaponizing our own strength against us, deliberately making the cost to defend trend towards infinity. This isn't a plan for victory. It's a blueprint for our bankruptcy. This pivot manifests in two primary vectors. First, the kinetic vector. Reports from Kiev confirm Russia is deploying updated tactics with mass missile and drone strikes. This is a numbers game. As the national interest notes, the U.S. Navy itself is searching for better interceptors because defending against low-cost swarms with multi-million-dollar missiles is a losing economic equation. Second, the infrastructure vector. This is a zero-cost force multiplier. UK authorities now explicitly warn of pro-Russia groups targeting critical national infrastructure and local government systems. Each successful cyber attack erodes public trust and forces massive, expensive defensive upgrades, another liability imposed on our balance sheet without firing a shot. The endgame of this solvency-driven strategy is to break the system from within. While kinetic and cyber attacks drain our treasury, financial attacks like the BRICS proposal to link digital currencies target the source of our liquidity. Weakness forced this pivot to asymmetry. They cannot win a symmetric war, so they are making it too expensive for us to fight one. The central mechanism driving this attrition is the inversion of kinetic cost. The math is not theoretical. It is being proven on active battlefields. A recent Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, report quantifies this with terrifying clarity. A single main battle tank, a A legacy asset valued at approximately $5 million can now be neutralized by a $500 first-person view drone. That is a 10,000 to 1 cost-to-kill ratio. This is not a sustainable economic model for national defense. It is a blueprint for a solvency crisis. Every symmetric asset we deploy becomes an asymmetric liability. For every dollar we spend to defend, the adversary spends a fraction of a cent to attack. This extreme cost asymmetry is what strategists call the democratization of violence. Lethal, precision-guided kinetic capability is no longer the exclusive domain of state superpowers. It has been decentralized and commoditized. The barrier to entry for projecting force has collapsed. Adversaries are not attempting to match our symmetric strength. They are weaponizing our balance sheet. The strategy is to force a launch-on-warning posture where the cost to defend trends towards infinity, bankrupting the system from within before a single major battle is ever fought. The conflict is not staged in a single location. It is everywhere. The battlefield is a gray zone, a strategic environment, not a geography. It is designed for operations below the threshold of conventional war. Here, adversaries are not testing our military resolve. They are mapping our systemic fragility. This is not theoretical. According to UK authorities, pro-Russia groups are actively targeting critical infrastructure. This isn't random activism. It is a clinical reconnaissance. They are testing response times, identifying unpatched systems, and collecting data. This makes Western nations a proxy laboratory, a live-fire environment to perfect cyber attack vectors at near-zero cost. Simultaneously, the kinetic front provides the blueprint. Reports from the Ukraine theater confirm Russia is deploying updated tactics in mass drone and missile strikes. The strategic objective is not just to destroy a target, but to force a bankrupting defense. Analysts at CSIS confirm this kinetic cost inversion. Forcing the U.S. Navy to fire expensive interceptor missiles against low-cost swarm assets is a strategy of economic attrition. These are not disparate crises. They are a unified, multi-domain attrition strategy. Cyber probes in the West, kinetic cost inversion in proxy theaters, and economic protocols in the global South are designed to make symmetric dominance an unsustainable liability. The gray zone is the laboratory where the West's solvency crisis is being engineered. The bedrock of nuclear deterrence is the launch-on-warning doctrine. It is not a policy of aggression. It is a solvency protocol. If verified data shows an inbound kinetic strike, a retaliatory launch is initiated before the incoming assets arrive. This guarantees that our deterrent is not eliminated in its silos, ensuring a zero-sum outcome for any aggressor. The entire framework rests on the integrity of one variable, the data. This protocol has been inverted into a systemic liability. According to UK authorities, state-backed actors are actively targeting Western critical infrastructure. This isn't limited to power grids. It includes the command, control, and communications networks that feed data to our early warning systems. Reports from CSIS confirm that adversaries are developing updated, non-kinetic tactics in parallel with their kinetic arsenals. This creates the fog of digital war. An asymmetric cyber attack does not need to physically destroy a radar installation. It only needs to blind it, or, more lethally, spoof its signal. The commander is then forced into an impossible decision. If the screen goes black, is it a system failure or the prelude to a decapitation strike? If the screen shows ghost signatures of inbound missiles, is it a glitch or a genuine attack? To wait for secondary confirmation is to risk the total liquidation of your strategic assets. The doctrine forces a choice based on data that is now actively being compromised. The fear of inaction compels a launch. Through this vector, an adversary can leverage a low-cost cyber operation to force the West to contemplate initiating its own apocalypse. The deterrent becomes the trigger. The West's strategic solvency is eroding. This is not a forecast. It is an observation of active economic warfare. While legacy media debates force postures, adversary states are executing an attrition protocol. Reports from the national interest confirm the U.S. Navy is seeking cheaper interceptors, a direct admission that the kinetic cost-exchange ratio is now inverted. Our multi-million-dollar symmetric defenses are a liability against massed, low-cost asymmetric threats, a blueprint refined and validated by Russia's updated tactics in Ukraine. This economic attrition vector is not limited to kinetics. As authorities in the UK issue warnings about pro-Russia groups targeting critical infrastructure, the parallel financial front accelerates. The RBI proposal to link BRICS digital currencies is a deliberate, systemic bypass of the dollar-based transaction layer. One front degrades physical supply chains, the other evaporates the currency leverage that funds our defense. The objective is a cascading solvency crisis. The calibration shot is therefore imminent. Within the next 12 months, anticipate an attribution impossible cyber event targeting a Tier 2 Western commercial port. Not a full blackout, that is too overt. The vector will be the terminal operating system managing container logistics. Cranes will freeze and cargo manifests will be corrupted for 48 to 72 hours, creating a multi-billion-dollar supply chain seizure. Official attribution will point to non-state hacktivists, providing plausible deniability. It is a test of our response protocol and a demonstration that our economic liquidity is now contingent on their digital restraint.